Hi everyone, myself Satyashree. In this video, I would like to explain about general anesthetics. Coming to the introduction, general anesthetics are the agents which are able to bring about partial or total loss of sense of pain accompanied by reversible loss of consciousness. That is the definition for general anesthetics. So what is the major purpose of general anesthetics are majorly used to carry out various surgical operations. That is the major purpose of general anesthetics. So I would like to give you a difference between general and local anesthetics. So local anesthetics are completely different from general anesthetics. So they are also observe a loss of sense of pain, but we no need to observe a loss of consciousness in case of a local anesthetics. In local anesthetics, we are applied in a localized area. That is the major difference between general anesthetics and local anesthetic agents. And coming to the ideal characteristic features, so each and every general anesthetic agent should possess certain ideal characteristic features. The first and important ideal characteristic feature is it produces rapid and pleasant induction of surgical anesthesia. The induction must be rapid and pleasant and to carry out surgical operations. After completion of surgical operations, the withdrawal from surgical anesthesia is also must be rapid and pleasant nature. So these are the important two ideal characteristic features. And next one is the general anesthetic produces adequate relaxation of skeletal muscles. It produces wide margin of safety. It should be non-toxic in nature. Absence of various adverse effects. It should not produce various adverse effects. If it is an inhalation anesthetic, it should be non-flammable and non-explosive in nature. And next, chemically compatible with anesthetic device. So in while administration of general anesthetics, so some anesthetic devices we are using, so it must be compatible with an anesthetic device, and it must be inexpensive in nature. So these are the certain ideal characteristic features of general anesthetics. And coming to the stages of anesthesia, so while administering general anesthetic agent, the anesthesia is occurred in 4 stages. So what are the 4 stages are? They are divided as stage 1, 2, 3 and 4. And the stage 1 is known as stage of analgesia. So analgesia is nothing but loss of sense of pain. So in this stage also we have to carry out minor operations, but the skeletal muscle relaxation is not observed in this stage. That is the stage of analgesia. And second stage is stage of excitement, also known as delirium. In this stage is not suitable for surgical procedures because the excitement, increase in the blood pressure, increase in respiration we are observed in stage 2. And next one is third stage, stage of surgical anesthesia. The name itself indicates that this is the suitable to carry out surgical operations. And last and final stage is stage of respiratory paralysis, also known as medullary paralysis. This is not at all suitable stage. So always we have to administer the general anesthetic in such a way that it should only entering into a stage 3, but it should not entering into stage 4. The excess administration of general anesthetics generally entering into stage 4 during my operations and finally leads to respiratory paralysis followed by a death of person. So just remember that in all the 4 stages, the major stage to carry out surgical operations is nothing but a stage 3. For minor operations, just follow a stage 1. These are the 4 stages. And next one is, so what happens in these stages? Stage 1, we already said that it is a stage of analgesia. So it begins from inhalation of anesthetic agent and last up to the loss of consciousness. This is the first stage. And what happens in this stage is the first and important parameter is the person in exhibit a dreamlike state and the reflexes and respiration becomes normal and response to painful stimuli are reduced. Nothing but it produces an analgesia. The name of this stage is nothing but stage of analgesia. It reduces the painful stimuli are reduced and produces an analgesic effect. So in this stage, generally we have to follow a minor surgical procedures where the relaxation of skeletal muscles is not required. So while carry out an surgical operations, in major surgical operations we require a skeletal muscle relaxation. But whenever in certain minor operations there is a no need of skeletal muscle relaxation, just we can reduce the pain at that operative area. So in that condition we have to follow and use this stage to carry out in minor surgical procedures. And next one is an stage of excitement. This is starts from the what is the end of the stage one? Loss of consciousness. It begins from loss of consciousness and to a beginning of regular respiration. In this one, the name of this stage is excitement. The patient may shout, struggle, and muscle tone must be increases. Nothing but there is a continuous contraction of muscles. There is increase in heart rate, blood pressure, and people may dilate due to the sympathetic stimulation. So this is not at all suitable for a surgical procedures. So in these two stages, first stage is suitable for carry out a minor surgical procedures. The stage 2 not at all suitable for a surgical procedures. Next one is stage 3. Stage 3 is also known as surgical anesthesia, which is starts from onset of regular respiration to cessation of your breathing. So what happens in this stage is the patient must be unconscious and there is a respiration must be regular or normal, and there is a decreasing eye movement, and there is a complete relaxation of your skeletal muscles. So this is the suitable stage to carry out in various major operations or nothing but surgical procedures. And last and final stage is stage of respiratory paralysis. It starts from cessation of breathing and to a failure of circulation followed by a death. And what happens in this stage is whatever the vital organs, all those are getting arrested. Medullary depression we are observed, respiration arrest, complete blockade of respiration, cardiac depression and cardiac arrest. There is a no eye movement, ultimately leads to a death of that particular person. So this stage should be avoided while administration of a general anesthetic agents. Always we have to administer the general anesthetic in such a way that it only entering into a stage 3 but not to stage 4. These are the various stages of an anesthesia: stage 1, 2, 3 followed by a 4. And next and important part in under general anesthetics is classification. We have to classify the general anesthetics majorly into two categories. So one is inhalation anesthetics. This is the first one, which is also named as hallucinated hydrocarbons. So inhalation anesthetics we can administer by an like an aerosols. We have to administer the inhalation anesthetics. What are the examples under this category are halothane, methoxyflurane, enflurane, sevoflurane, isoflurane, desflurane. All these fluranes along with the halothane comes under the category of inhalation anesthetics. And next one is intravenous anesthetics. The intravenous anesthetics, the example again classified into two categories: ultra short acting barbiturates. We are already studied this one under hypnotics and sedatives. So what are the examples? Those barbiturates which are substituted with sulfur are comes under the category of ultra short acting barbiturates. The three examples are thiopental sodium, thymolol, methohexital sodium. These are comes under the category of ultra short acting barbiturates. And next and important class is dissociative anesthetic, which can dissociate the person from a normal condition. Such anesthetics we can name it as a dissociative anesthetics. The example is ketamine hydrochloride. This is the simple important classification of general anesthetics, majorly into inhalation, intravenous. Inhalation in the form of aerosols we have to administer, or by using anesthetic device we have to administer the inhalation anesthetics. Intravenous anesthetics, by an intravenous route we can administer this type of anesthetics. This is the classification. One is coming to the structures of inhalation anesthetics. I already said that all these inhalation anesthetics are nothing but halogenated hydrocarbons, nothing but hydrogen carbon chain consisting of various halogens, majorly with an fluorines, nothing but it consisting of fluorines. So such compounds we can name it as halogenated hydrocarbons. The first and important example is halothane. So halothane is, this is the structure of halothane. It consisting of two carbon atoms. For the first carbon atom, it consisting of fluorines. For the second, bromine and chlorine. So what is the IUPAC nomenclature for this molecule is, at the second position, it consisting of bromine and chlorine. So we have to follow alphabetical order. So bromine is the first, we are getting B. So 2 bromo, 2 chloro, 1 comma 1 comma 1 trifluoroethane. This is the IUPAC name, which is very important for examinations. This is the structure of halothane. What is the IUPAC name? 2 bromo, 2 chloro, 1 trifluoroethane. And next extension structure for halothane is N-fluorine. What is the difference in the structure is, we are adding here is an ether linkage we are adding in place of this hydrogen. It consisting of an difluoromethoxy group. That is the difference between halothane and N-fluorine. So coming to the chemical name for this molecule, at the second position it consisting of an chlorine. At the first position it consisting of, we have to write this one. So this is an difluoromethoxy, CH3. Instead of CH3, OCH3, it consisting of OCHF2. We can name it as difluoromethoxy 1 comma 1 2 trifluoroethane. This is the chemical name of N-fluorine. And next one is an isoflurane. So the major difference for the N-fluorine and isoflurane is, just we have to change the position of this chlorine. From the first second carbon atom, the fluorine is shift to this carbon atom, and finally we are getting this molecule, nothing but an isoflurane. So what is the chemical name of isoflurane is 2 chloro 2 difluoromethoxy 1 comma 1 comma 1 trifluoroethane. This is the chemical name for an isoflurane. And next one is an desflurane. And the desflurane, it consisting of, at the second position, it consisting of an difluoromethoxy. This is the difluoromethoxy. And 1 comma first position consisting of 3 fluorines, second position 1 fluorine. So we can name it as tetrafluoroethane. This is the structure of desflurane. And observe N-fluorine, isoflurane, desflurane. So all these structures, it consisting of an difluoromethoxy is the common. We are observed there is a change in the functional groups of fluorine or chlorine around the first and second carbon atoms. So these are nothing but halothane, N-fluorine, isoflurane, as well as a desflurane. Next one is methoxyflurane. In this methoxyflurane, so instead of a difluoromethoxy, it consisting of a direct methoxy group along with a chlorine and fluorine substituted molecule. So this is the first carbon atom, this is the second carbon. At the second carbon, it consisting of dichloro 1 comma 1 difluoro 1 methoxyethane. This is nothing but a methoxyflurane. And last one is an sevoflurane. In this sevoflurane, these are the functional group. It consisting of at the first carbon, it consisting of 1 comma 1 3 comma 3 hexafluoro. Here 3 fluorines, here 3 fluorines, hexafluoro 2-fluoromethoxypropane. So this is the chemical name for a sevoflurane. So all these are the 6 examples comes under the category of an inhalation anesthetics, also named it as halogenated hydrocarbons. Next one is an intravenous anesthetics. So in the intravenous anesthetics, the first classification is ultra short acting barbiturates. In the ultra short acting barbiturates, this is the structure of an barbituric acid. It consisting of pyrimidine. And the pyrimidine, it consisting of three ketones actually in case of barbituric acid. But in case of thiobarbituric acid, at this second position, it consisting of sulfur. So this is the basic structure of thiobarbituric acid. It consisting of thiopental. At the fifth position, ethyl is common. At the another functional group must be an isopentyl group. This is the structure of thiopental sodium, generally exhibit in the salt state. And next one is thymylal sodium. It consisting of same pentyl group, but the difference between the thiopental and thymylal is instead of ethyl, it consisting of an allyl group. That is the difference between thiopental and thymylal. And next one is an methohexital sodium, hexa. It consisting of 6 carbon atom, hexatal sodium. Allyl, the difference between thymylal and methohexital is allyl is same, but pentyl, instead of pentyl, it consisting of an hexyl group. That is the difference between the thiopental, thymylal and methohexital sodium, but all these exhibit in a salt state. That is the ultra short acting barbiturates. One is stage 3. Stage 3 is also known as surgical anesthesia, which is starts from onset of regular respiration to cessation of your breathing. So what happens in this stage is the patient must be unconscious, and there is a respiration must be regular or normal, and there is a decreasing eye movement, and there is a complete relaxation of your skeletal muscles. So this is the suitable stage to carry out, and various major operations are nothing but surgical procedures. And last and final stage is stage of respiratory paralysis. It starts from cessation of breathing and to an failure of circulation followed by a death. And what happens in this stage is whatever the vital organs, all those are getting arrested. Medullary depression we are observed, respiration arrest, complete blockade of respiration, cardiac depression and cardiac arrest. There is a no eye movement, ultimately leads to a death of that particular person. So this stage should be avoided while administration of a general anesthetic agents. Always we have to administer the general anesthetic in such a way that it only entering into a stage 3 but not to stage 4. These are the various stages of an anesthesia: stage 1, 2, 3 followed by a 4. Next, coming to the mechanism of action of general anesthetics, various theories explain the mechanism of action of general anesthetics. Here I am giving an important two theories to explain the mechanism of action of general anesthetics. And the first and important theory is Mayer-Overton theory or hypothesis. This is nothing but a lipid hypothesis. Lipid hypothesis, also known as Mayer-Overton theory or nothing but hypothesis. What it states is, according to this theory, this is the majorly explain the mechanism of action of an inhalation anesthetics. So if the anesthetic agent, general anesthetic agent, is more lipophilic in nature, it shows a more action, and nothing but it is more potent in nature. If the lipophilicity is more, the action is more. That is proposed by a lipid hypothesis, nothing but Mayer-Overton theory or hypothesis. According to this theory, the general anesthetics interact with hydrophobic, because it is a lipid, right? It interact with hydrophobic portion of the membrane and dissolve in lipid bilayer. First, it interacts with lipid portion and dissolve in lipid bilayer, and it causes a disordering or nothing but change in the original order of the cell membrane, or increases the fluidity of the membrane. And finally, it causes anisotropic expansion of bilayer, which leads to compression of the membrane components or ion channels or deformation. So first, there is an interaction of an anesthetic with hydrophobic portion and dissolve in bilayer and change the original order of the bilayer and causes anisotropic expansion, nothing but compression of the membrane components. By compression of the membrane compounds, there is a opening of an ion channels and there is an influx of an chloride ions. The negativity of the cell increases. The negativity of the cell increases, nothing but which leads to hyperpolarization and finally inhibition of neuronal firing. So this, if the inhibition of neuronal firing will occur, it produces an anesthetic action. That is according to a lipid hypothesis. Just what happens is, it interacts with whatever the hydrophobic portion which is present in the membrane and causes change in the membrane original structure and causes compression of the membrane components, nothing but ion channels, and finally there is a opening of influx of an chloride ions which leads to hyperpolarization and causes inhibition of neuronal firing. That is about an according to Mayer-Overton theory. Next hypothesis, ion channel and protein receptor hypothesis. So in this hypothesis, generally two important ion channels are affected. One is an chloride ion channel, another one is an calcium and sodium ion channels. So what type of drugs influence the chloride ion channels are halothane, isoflurane and other volatile anesthetics along with the intravenous, nothing but especially barbiturates, it affects and chloride ion channels. So how this ion channel is affected by these type of drugs are, and see this picture. In this picture we are observed this is an GABA A receptor. The GABA A receptor is a ligand gated ion channel. It consisting of 5 subunits. So in these subunits it consisting of binding sites like barbiturate binding site, picrotoxin binding site or benzodiazepine binding site. So these drugs bind with these discrete binding site of GABA A receptors, and finally it enhances the GABA neurotransmission. It can enhance the GABA neurotransmission, and finally if the GABA neurotransmission is enhanced, there is a opening of this ion channel. There is an influx of chloride ions moves from outside the cell to inside the cell. If the negativity of the cell increases because of chloride ions, which leads to hyperpolarization and decrease the excitability of cells. This is the major mechanism of action of a halothane, isoflurane and barbiturates of intravenous anesthetics. Just increase the influx of chloride and causes hyperpolarization and decrease the excitability of cells. That is the mechanism of action of various general anesthetics based on chloride ion channels. Next one is sodium channels, which are located in NMDA receptors. So first I would give the glance about NMDA receptor. It is a type of an ligand gated receptor clubbed with an sodium channels. So what happens in this NMDA receptor is, Whenever the glutamate or glycine bind with this receptor, then there is influx of calcium ions and causes depolarization. This is the normal mechanism we are observed. But in this case, halothane and isoflurane and ketamine, all these three drugs acts as an antagonist at NMDA receptor. So it can prevent a depolarization and finally decrease the excitability of spells. So halothane isoflurane specifically antagonize the glutamate stimulated depolarization, just inhibit the depolarization produced by an glutamate. And coming to the important drug, nothing but ketamine. So ketamine is a potent drug. It is a non-competitive antagonist of the NMDA type of receptor. So it is non-competitive antagonist. So how it shows its action is, in the NMDA receptor there is a one binding site, name it as PCP site. The ketamine, whenever we are administered, it bind with PCP site, which is located inside the channel of the receptor. So finally, the blockade of NMDA receptor prevents the influx of cations like calcium and sodium, thereby prevents depolarization. This should therefore leads to decrease the neuronal activity, or nothing but by preventing the depolarization, decrease the excitability of cells. This is the major mechanism of action of a ketamine. See this image. Here we can clearly know how the ketamine shows its mechanism of action. So before I am explaining the ketamine mechanism of action, first what is the normal function of this is the NMDA receptor, how it shows its mechanism. And the glutamate is the substrate for this receptor. When the glutamate bind to this receptor, there is a opening of this ion channel, there is a efflux of potassium ions, there is an influx of calcium ions. This is normally occurs. If there is an influx of positive ions, always the cell leads to depolarization, nothing but excitation of cell will occur. So what is our target in general anesthetic, which decreases the excitation of cells? Finally we have to observe the anesthetic action. So what the ketamine will do is, the ketamine is blocks the PCP site is there here. It bind with the PCP site which is located on this NMDA receptor, and finally block the efflux of potassium and influx of calcium ions. If the influx of calcium ions is decreases, the calcium entry is inhibited, then what happens? Completely it blocks the depolarization and finally inhibit the firing of your neurons. There is a major important mechanism of a ketamine. So which form of ketamine is active here? S-ketamine is more active in nature. So what will do? It bind with PCP site which is located on NMDA receptor, and finally block, the red symbol indicate it can block the efflux of potassium and influx of a calcium and inhibit the depolarization of cells and inhibit the neuronal firing. That is the mechanism of action of a ketamine. So these are the important mechanism of actions of an intravenous as well as an inhalation anesthetics along with a ketamine. And coming to the synthesis of very important drug under this category, so that is an halothane. We are already studied that halothane is nothing but an inhalated anesthetic. It comes under the category of halogenated hydrocarbon. So to synthesize halothane, so we have to use the starting material is 1 comma 1 comma 2, this is the first, second 1 comma 1 comma 2 trichloroethene, this is the starting material. So here, because of the presence of an pi bond, this is the pi bond alkene, just it undergoes addition reaction with an HCl. H plus and Cl minus added to the respective carbon atoms. Finally, we are getting an addition product which is completely substituted with the first position with 3 chlorines, at the second position with an hydrogens with chlorine. And finally, in case of halothane, the first carbon consisting of 3 fluorines. So all the chlorines we have to replace with an fluorine simply by adding 3 molecules of hydrofluoric acid. The fluorine will replace the chlorine, and with the loss of 3 molecules molecules of HCl, it forms a fluoro derivative. And the next one is at the second position, one molecule is an bromine we have to attach. So just treat with an bromine, and finally there is a loss of one Br minus is attached here, and with the loss of Br plus with the H, Br minus with an H plus as an H, Br with the formation of a halogen. What is halogen? 2 bromo, 2 chloro, 111 trifluoroethane. The starting material is trichloroethane. Add HCl, addition product, replace the chlorines with fluorine, then replace the hydrogen atom with an bromine. Finally, we are getting a halogen. Thus, the synthesis of an halogen. It is an halogenated hydrocarbons. Thank you one and all for your attention. Thank you.